What's happening, YouTube? It's Mike Black, Mike the Mac, Mr. Mills, definitely back in the building. I've been trying to stay away from commenting on this latest coronavirus scare, remembering that, autocratic governments aren't handling this crisis any better than we are, but remembering that the decisions made in place of this are going to reverberate throughout time and history for years to come. They made you guys afraid and used your fear to imprison you further. The Patriot Act of the New World Order was the first maneuver. The next maneuver is this. And if you are a biblical person like myself, you know that obviously Revelation states that when the Jews, which I am one of, get their homeland back in Israel, that was the opening of the first seal of Revelation 6:18. Now, one of the seals also was a major virus or a pandemic, a plague, if you will. So remember that these data collection points from cell towers and phone logging, if you ask how do they text people in Korea saying, hey, you came in contact with Joe Blow, so now you have to isolate yourself for 14 days. They have had this ability for a few years, and they're using your guys' phones to imprison you. Now your phone is your new ankle bracelet. That's how you're going to be locked up. And the decisions that they're making right now to figure out who came in contact with who and who isolated who are going to also be used to see who gets a home, who gets a loan, who gets a car, who gets a job, and more importantly, who does not. So all I would say is trust in the Lord, because obviously if God does not want you to get sick from this, you will not. And on top of that, if you don't expose yourself to this virus on purpose and your body doesn't build up immunities to it, then you definitely will get killed from the next version of it. We know that Wuhan, China, and the Chinese government released this pandemic because they have billions of people over there, okay? I think, 1.8 billion people in China. So they knew if they released this virus, it would kill their old and their young and release the burden of paying for them and feeding them and housing them and providing for them, knowing that that was going to jump across the border. Now, on a separate issue, I cannot believe that they're going to give $60 billion to the airlines to bail them out. And they were the vehicle that facilitated the widespread pandemic, right? People flying into international airports, infecting one another through the airline. And now the airline is getting a bailout when they're basically the one who facilitated the forward movement of this virus. So all I can tell you guys is pray and stay safe. You know what I'm saying? Stop shaking people's hands. Stop touching your face like I always do, but I touch my beard and then I wash it anyway, and I'm not really in contact with a lot of people anyway. But, know that this is a trick, a deception, and know that also, like it says in Revelation 6:18, that we battle principalities of darkness in high places, not just other little men. We battle principalities of darkness in high places. Amen. Amen. Right? So don't forget that part. Most of this is all a facade. I don't believe in it. They're not flipping out over the 40,000 people a year that die from drunk driving accidents. They're not flipping out over the 100,000 people a year plus that die from smoking cigarettes. Do you think they're going to make cigarettes illegal? No. Are they going to make booze illegal? No. So that alone tells you right now that you're under a grand deception, as usual. The sweeping powers of the Fed under the Bush era years, Bush freaking stupid Jr., where they were doing mass surveillance on a giant scale, that was never ended. 20 years later, we're still in wars that were claimed, in 2001. They never stop. Just like this now, the freedom that you're losing for this so-called pandemic, they're never going to give it back to you. When they take, they keep. And then they take more. And then they keep. They don't say, oh, okay, it's over with. Now you all are free again. No. Every day I see this country slipping into the abyss further and further toward autocratic society. You know, and the zeitgeist of the whole situation is it's all mostly a deception. So all I can tell you guys is trust in the Lord. Amen.